In our last episode, we opened up our series by considering the realities of entering this last lap of our race and the importance of facing these head-on in order to maintain meaning and purpose in life. We looked at both physical and relational markers on our journey, and this time we want to look at the reality of regret. As you reflect on your life, do you have regrets? We all have some, but are they so intense that they jeopardize your future? This time we want to discuss two typical scenarios that people face as they age. As people reflect on how their life has gone, they will either find themselves regretful and disillusioned, or apathetic and bored. We will either feel that life has treated us poorly, or we may feel that we've had a pretty good run, and so the future now will never be as bright as the past. There's a ditch on either side of that road.
Welcome to our Leadership Matters podcast. Phil has had the privilege of mentoring leaders and coaching ministry teams around the world for several decades, and he's really looking forward to sharing with you some of the principles that others have found helpful over the years. To access all of our podcasts as well as our leadership resources, just click the links in the description box or go to icmcanada.org/leadershipmatters. If you want a copy of this complete study, just click on the link to download it. Now let's join Phil for this episode.
Well, if you're following along, we're in the workbook here. We're going to be on pages 4 to 6 this time in this episode. In our last episode, we looked at the physical and relational realities that we typically face during this time of life. But another gnawing reality that can hit us pretty hard during the season is regret. By this stage of life, we have typically lived long enough to regret some of the experiences we've had along the way. While this is inevitable to some degree, if we don't deal with these regrets, they can really cripple us moving forward. I wonder, do you have peace, or are you filled with regrets over situations in your own personal life or in your career or your ministry? As he reflected on his life and failures, which by the way included, murder and adultery, just to name the top two, King David, he wrote, "My guilt has overwhelmed me like a burden, too heavy to bear." Perhaps you feel like that over some situation or situations in your life. Regrets really can blind us, to the possibilities of the future, can't they? Or if we maybe even feel, do we even have a future? In chapter 40, David continues with his troubles, and he says his troubles are without number, and his sins have overtaken him to the point that his heart was failing him. Some of our regrets, like David, are due to bad choices we've made, but they could also just be a result of the way things in our life turned out. Regret is usually under the surface, and it can stay there gnawing at us for years. It can then be expressed in other emotions, such as anger or depression. But forgiving ourselves and others is the only way we can move beyond it. Throughout our lives, if we have not been taking out the trash, so to speak, it is likely that these regrets will have an accumulative effect on us and really become overwhelming. This is why it is crucial that we address these issues and come to a place of peace so that we can move forward. John reassures us that even if our hearts condemn us, God is greater than our hearts, and He knows everything. The writer of the Hebrews offers some real hope. He says, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with the full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from the guilty conscience. While we cannot go back and change the past events, we can take them to the Lord and leave them at the cross. Then we can move on and not choose, and not to dwell on these mistakes and regrets of the past. Failing to do this will mean regret can consume us, and it can even eat away at our future. It's so important that we learn to accept God's grace for us as we forgive ourselves and others. This will free us, but it only happens as we make the choice to gain a new perspective on our past. Spending time with the Lord and meditating in His Word, of course, that'll position us to that place of healing that He does in our life. The good news is that we're not alone in this. There have been many imperfect men and women throughout the pages of Scripture that illustrate our need to receive God's forgiveness and restoration. People like Moses and David and Jacob and even the apostles Peter and Paul. As you read Paul's epistles, it doesn't take much of an imagination to envision what he must have had to overcome to go from being a persecutor of the church and of Christians to planting churches and a key leader among those same Christians. That wasn't an easy road either, if you recall. I guarantee you he had a few regrets, and he had to get over those with the help of the Lord. If we take the time to do this during this stage of our life, we'll find new strength to finish our race. It's not a successful strategy to just work harder or ignore past pain, as appealing that may be sometimes. While we may have been able to pull this off during our younger years, we'll find it increasingly difficult the older we become. To finish our race, we'll need to deal with the issues of past regrets in our life, trusting that God was and is in control of our life. He is still all about changing beauty for our ashes. At this point, let's take a few moments to reflect on our own lives. Do you have regrets about things that went on in your life? Be honest with yourself and your spouse about the things from life that have disappointed you and have caused you to live with regret. Have you taken the time to bring them honestly to the Lord and allow Him to heal your heart? Again, take some time in the Word and with the Lord to allow Him to heal these hurts.
To view or listen to any of Phil's other podcast series, visit icm.org/Leadership Matters. His Mentoring Intelligence series discusses issues of servant leadership and how to leave a legacy by investing in others. Other series include a study of how to develop and manage multicultural teams, a series to strengthen your marriage, the first team, as well as a discussion of how to implement the equipping gifts in a local church. You could also check out our CLI, Christian Leadership Institute, which is a unique competency-based ministerial training program. To download any of our resources associated with these series, visit our library of materials at icm.org/resources.
At this stage of life, we will either find ourselves disillusioned with the way life has gone, or we may find ourselves bored and apathetic as we have accomplished most of our goals and expectations. Each of these, though, have their own dangers and challenges. It's inevitable that by this point in our lives, we likely will have to accept the fact that certain dreams we had when we were younger just won't be accomplished. It may have been dreams as to how our family was going to turn out or what we were going to accomplish in our professional or ministry life. But dealing with unrealized dreams can create a deep sense of disappointment and even depression. Sometimes we're not even aware of what is gnawing on our insides. We go to bed at night with a heaviness and we wake up in the morning with that same weight on our souls in the morning. It's of course assuming we sleep at all. There are many reasons why dreams do not get fulfilled, of course. Let's face it, some of our dreams were just fanciful ideas that had no real basis in reality. Yet other dreams we had maybe were legit, but perhaps as we aged and we realized that they were not for us, but they were for others to accomplish. This is the beauty of mentoring. Our dreams outlive us and have continuity to what God is doing in the next generation. If you want to take a deeper dive into the whole concept and art of mentoring, check out my Mentoring Intelligence podcast and materials. There's links and they're available for you. Remember that the dream that was initially given to Abraham, remember that he would be a father of a mighty nation? But it was nowhere near to being fulfilled during his lifetime, was it? It was only following generations who began to see its fulfillment. But in order to regain meaning during this latter season of our life, it's important that we deal with the grief or loss of unrealized dreams. as we reevaluate those dreams and rediscover God's real purpose for us, we can resolve this inward pain and live a life of faith and passion again. Sometimes our experiences may be similar to that of the Apostle Paul. He had wanted to go to Asia, but in a dream was thwarted by God. After several other attempts, he eventually went to Macedonia. It kind of sounds like me. Let's go God's way after everything else. Which, as it turned out, though, was God's ultimate plan, wasn't it? Even when he finally gets to Rome, though, it does not really seem to turn out the way he intended. I'm sure preaching to Caesar by being arrested was not his plan A. Yet he eventually gained new perspective as to why he was in chains. He saw his life and experiences through the lens of God's perspective. I'm not sure about you, but this is where I want to get in my life. To see it all my life and what's gone on from God's perspective, not just my limited vantage point. Unfortunately, this was not always the case during our younger, more ambitious years, was it? I'm sure we can all identify with having plans that we tried and to make happen in our own strength. If this has been a habit pattern in our life, now is a good time to adjust and change. Instead of just keeping busy with life and work, we can learn to listen to what God's direction is for us. And without this attitude, we'll likely never gain God's perspective as to what He is doing in our lives right now. So during the season, we can have confidence that God has been leading and guiding our lives in the past and is now making all things work out for our good. If we allow Him, God will cut away those things that have held us back and graciously prepare us for future effectiveness, even in the latter years of our life. We can be prepared for even greater effectiveness as we realign our priorities and allow Him to prune us during this transitional time of life. Let's take a few moments now and pause and consider, what dreams of yours have not been fulfilled? Have you ever thought of that? How are you dealing with the reality that they may never be fulfilled? Or at least not the way you envisioned they would be? On an emotional level, do you believe that God is good and has directed every aspect of your life? Are you willing to allow Him to prune you during this time, even if that process is a little painful? On the other hand, instead of being disillusioned, you may have had most of your dreams fulfilled. Life may have exceeded your expectations. It wasn't perfect, you may say, but as you look back in your life, you may not have many regrets and may feel like you had a pretty good run. If this is where you find yourself, there's another danger on the other side of the road in that ditch, and that's the ditch of boredom and apathy. You may have begun to notice that activities that used to energize you and fill you with meaning no longer do. Those who arrive with this frame of mind at this stage of life tend to feel a loss of meaning and purpose for the future. You may even feel that your best days are behind you. The result is the same as those who are disillusioned. We are in the danger of losing hope that God still has a purpose for our life and for our future. While there are many reasons that this happens, it always results in a feeling of emptiness. Even if we continue with our career or ministry to some degree, there's no more joy and no sense of meaning in our daily life. Instead of having energy and joy, we can feel emotionally and physically worn out and drained. At times, we may even wonder if there's a purpose of life to carry on to fulfill. So the danger of spending a lifetime of gaining fulfillment through achievements is that this can really become addictive. We don't notice we were addicted until we find ourselves no longer having the influence or the responsibility or that position that we once had. What gives us meaning when we no longer can achieve? What meaning do we have if we can no longer do that? We may have even taught others that true satisfaction only comes through union with Christ, but we may have been so busy for God that we did not apply those truths to our own life. As Paul, in the face of others clothing us and leading us to where we do not want to go, will we still love Jesus? Will we still feed His sheep? And so as we conclude this episode, let's consider some questions that may have led us down a path of unhealth without maybe even us even considering it. So when it comes to our personal and relational health, how many hours per week do you work? How much time have you taken off in the last 3 years? Do you have hobbies that are unrelated to your work or ministry? Do you exercise regularly? How much time do you spend with your wife, with your family per week? Oh, this one. Do you feel guilty when you take time to relax and rest and don't think about ministry or don't think of your work? Now, how about when it comes to a relationship with the Lord? How much quiet time do you spend with Him, with the Lord? Not so much the hours, but are you regular in that? Do you have a passion for Him? And this isn't including the time, if you're a minister, that you spend preparing to minister to others. So putting it all together, what do your questions indicate regarding your health and balance in life and ministry? As you consider your present situations, do you tend to be disillusioned or apathetic now? Have your dreams not come true, or have you done more than you thought you ever would? And how do you think this will impact the future? The goal of this study is to give you tools to regain joy and meaning as you rediscover the purposes that God still has for your life. As long as we're here on this earth, He's not done with us, is He? He wishes to continue to give us meaning every day as we walk hand in hand with Him in this journey. Our journey will culminate as we make our final transition one day from our present reality to our new eternal one. But join me next time as we discuss some of those initial steps we need to take to get there, and how we can achieve real meaning in our life during this last third of our life.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Matters. If this has been helpful, please remember to like, subscribe, and share us. Doing this will enable others to benefit from this material as well. And remember, if you would like to have your own copy of this study, just click on the link in the description box, and for any of our other leadership resources, go to our website, icmcanada.org/resources.